Hello and welcome to the final match of the Operation Michel tournament. It has been a very long and hard tournament. Well, I say very long and hard. It's only been 3 matches, but this has been the hardest of all because Arthritis Morgan, my opponent, has probably developed his skills into becoming the best player I've ever seen. And as you'll see in this upcoming match, he really gives me a run for my money. But eventually, through the power of determination and unending resolve, I break through and win the tournament. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. If you know anything about the First World War, you've probably seen the massive piles of shell casings 3 times as high as a man. And yeah, that's how the first almost 20 minutes of this match goes. I'm not going to do commentary for it all because 20 minutes of just shelling each other is not super interesting in my mind. Basically, it kicks off with the customary siege artillery, pre-battle siege artillery. Then we each try to deny each other our vision by precisely targeting each other's observation balloons. Then we try to knock out each other's flak guns, because that will allow us to send bombers in and kill each other that way. But aside from that, it's just shooting each other. The one interesting thing is that Arthritis Morgan figured out if I was shooting at him with my artillery and then he suppressed that battery wouldn't fire, and that would mean that, well, a precision heavy artillery call-in costs 8 supply, and then the suppression barrage costs 4, so he's technically preserving his own units from damage and also making me waste supply in a way. But it's hard if you don't have any vision to know which artillery battery it was firing, so he was just sort of calling in rolling barrages across all my artillery and hoping to suppress the one that was firing. Anyways, skip ahead to timestamp 18 minutes and 30 seconds for the commentary to commence again. And of course, if you want to watch the artillery back and forth, it's here for you, just without commentary.
Mannschaften bereit! Seid bereit, Jungs! Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Auf Feuerweite vorbereitet! Einleiten! Positionen vorbereiten! Mannschaften bereit! Für Bereichsfeuerweite! Bereit, Jungs! Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Sperrfeuerweite! Alle wieder! Koordinaten für Feuerpositionen vorbereiten! Feuert auf Für Bereichsfeuerwalze laden! Wir haben unsere Ziele!
Bereit für Aufklärungsmission.
Seid bereit, Jungs!
Auf Feuerwalze
Alle
vorbereiten!
anfeuern! Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Für Bereichsfeuerwalze unsere Ziele! Ladet ihn ab!
Koordinaten für Feuerwalze prüfen.
Positionen vorbereitet! Bereit für Feuerwalze! Feuert auf diese Stellung! Bereit! Für Sperrfeuerwalze! Jungs! Wir haben ihn befehlt. Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Ladet sie nach! Feuerwalze! Alle Waffen abfeuern! Positionen vorbereiten! Auf Feuerwalze vorbereiten! Wir haben unsere Mannschaften bereit! Für Bereichsfeuerwalze laden! Seid bereit, Jungs! Koordinaten für Feuerwalze auf diese Stelle! Bereit für Feuerwehr! Feuerwalze befohlen!
Nachladen!
Laden sie nach! Positionen vorbereitet für Feuerwalze! Feuerwalze einleiten!
Wir haben neue Befehle. Befehle. Anliege! Bereit machen! Vorstellung einnehmen! Kameras sind bereit!
Mannschaften bereit! Feuerwalze klar machen! Seid bereit, Jungs! Auf Feuerwalze vorbereiten! Waffen abfeuern! Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Für Bereichsfeuerwalze! Wir haben unsere Ziele!
Koordinaten für Feuerwalze prüfen.
Positionen vorbereitet! Bereit für Feuerwalze!
Melde mich zum Dienst.
Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Feuerweite! Feuerweite einleiten! Auf Feuerweite vorbereiten! Positionen vorbereiten! Für Bereichsfeuerweite! Wir haben unsere Ziele! Belagerungsfeuerweite klar machen! Langstreckengranaten Ziele eingestellt!
Wir haben neue Befehle. Warten auf Befehle. Ausrücken! Wir sind unterwegs. Kompanie, halt! An die Linie!
Neue Befehle.
Wir haben auf der Feuerstufe bereit machen!
Wir haben neue Befehle. Alle Mann zurückziehen!
Orten auf Bestellung gehen! Mannschaft bereit!
Achtung, wir müssen diese neue Befehle.
Seid bereit, Jungs! Koordinaten für Feuerwalze prüfen! Bereit für Feuerbefehle! Feuerwalze auf diese Stellung! Feuerwalze! Feuerwalze! Vorbereiten! Auf Feuerwalze! Vorbereiten! Bereit machen für Aufklärungsmission!
Wir haben neue Befehle. Heilung. Achtung! Wir halten hier. Wir haben neue Befehle.
So I have a problem. Arthritis Morgan has set up barbed wire all along his front lines, and I need to deal with that before I send in any troops, because that will throw off the troops' movement, which has to be perfectly in sync with the rolling barrages, or else all of my troops are going to get absolutely annihilated. So that's what these two little pioneers are for. I'm going to cover their advance with rolling barrages. They're still going to die, but because they instantly destroy wire, that's a good sacrifice, a good trade to, yeah, smoke. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he certainly spotted me, so maybe he thought I was attacking, and so he covered them with smoke so that they would get suppressed and we'd be able to see him. Oh, no, right. He was sending in troops of his own and wanted to suppress mine. Unfortunately, they walk into a thing with 3 Jaegers and 2 Grenadiers and get absolutely smoked, so that attack didn't amount to much. This is the problem you have with the First World War. You have to have so many troops that you're able to just wham right through and not really care about casualties, and after that still have enough to hold the position that you just took. Oh yeah, he called in siege battery here, which destroys trenches, everything except for these concrete ones that these riflemen are heading into, and they're just barely gonna make it, and they lost a couple of guys that didn't mosey in fast enough, but you know, it's fine. The pioneers are getting ready to go in. I have to send them at the right moment though, because their whole mission is going to fail if they run into his troops coming from the other direction. So I'm just waiting to, you know, get everything in order on my end so I can fully focus on sending them in. That's a very optimistic, very optimistic placement there. But yeah, rolling barrage just gives them cover and doesn't hurt them because it's only light shells. It's still a video game. Keep that in mind. And they head in, and they all die. But they instantly destroy the wire, as you'll soon see right there. The wire's gone, which means that when my actual attack wave comes in, I am going to be good. And also, this gives me the opportunity to spot stuff that I want to destroy right before I move in. Essentially, the essence of an attack is to destroy everything with your artillery, mostly the emplacements, not the trenches. And then your troops can go in enough numbers that the enemy in there, you know, only the enemy infantry there, like those elites, are not going to be able to stop them, because the emplacements are the ones that can, you know, wear down a big blob. The blob in question is waiting in the front trenches there. They're as close as possible to the enemy while still being protected completely in those concrete bunkers. And because basically they have to be fresh. Even if they're going to suffer 90% losses, they still need to be fresh. I know this sounds a little harsh, but keep in mind that this is the First World War, and that this is quite literally the best way of doing things. Ironic. He's sending in rolling barrages here as to suppress my flak guns. You'll notice I don't have any flak guns here, but well, he thinks I do because I destroyed all his balloons earlier. So his idea is if he sends bombers in while the rolling barrages suppress my flak guns, then he can freely destroy my my emplacements. Then he can do what I'm trying to do in a moment to him. The blob is massing on the right flank. That's the other principle, by the way. Always attack along a flank, because then that reduces the frontage, you know, the amount of front line that you have to go through. Oh, that's not gonna keep them in fighting trim, is it? Getting tickled by some light shells. Morgan doesn't see them. I think that was just a lucky shot. because he's still trying to suppress my flak guns that aren't there. You can see the value of information. All those people in Ukraine, they have drones everywhere. They can just freaking get that 4K resolution live footage from the front line. Yeah, we don't have that luxury. We have to guess. Or send in a whole company of men to die just to pinpoint the location of a single thing. And now here comes the rolling barrage to cover the blob. The counter to the blob is the airburst shell, but Morgan kind of just forgets to use it here. And as a result, my guys get cover enough that they get to the front trench. This whole wave is going to die, by the way. They're not going to reach the objective or contest it. Sorry, they are contesting it. Look on the upper right, you can see the blue crosses of his reinforcement points got turned into white. No, their real objective, as well I realized, is just to destroy this one machine gun nest. That's all these guys are. These guys are selling their lives to kill that one machine gun nest. That's how deadly this freaking thing is. It resists artillery for all time. It can't be suppressed. If I sent in more waves while that thing was still alive, then all those waves would die. So it's a necessary sacrifice. And unfortunately, those two Jaegers died because they are not able to get in the trench in time. He's trying to counterattack with some elites here, so I get on an airburst and demonstrate why you shouldn't walk over open ground. I call it an over the trench because I know those guys are going to die anyways, so it's more effective. Then I realize I called it in too far ahead, so I just do that. My next wave's coming in soon, so I can't afford to have any fresh British troops in that trench. But this wave is going to have a little bit more success than the last one. And the one after that, which I'm calling in right now, will have a little more success than this. Than the next. First two go into that hopefully empty trench, or more or less empty trench. The other ones go over there. Morgan made a slight mistake, though understandable considering he's being highly pressured of not refilling that trench, which means that I have a little bit of an easier time, though I did forget, it's my mistake, to suppress all their trenches there, which means that my attack wave got absolutely destroyed. Yeah. But now I have a trench of my own, and I can shoot at his reinforcements coming in, which is why I was harping on his, quote-unquote mistakes so much. Next wave coming in, and then I call him, I just keep calling in waves because that's how you gotta do it. And now this is essentially turned into a game of who can call in the most reinforcements the quickest. I mean, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but considering how hectic it gets and how little opportunity you have to properly suppress their trenches and do preparatory stuff while you're also managing all your troops, you can see these guys just get destroyed. It turns into a game, eventually, of who managed their supply better earlier in the battle. You probably didn't notice it, but my ammo caches, you definitely didn't notice it, but unless you played this game a lot, but the ammo caches I placed down in the beginning saved a lot of supply because they half the cost of precision barrages for my batteries. That sort of thing is why I'm going to win this match, because he runs out of supply and I don't, and it's as simple as that. The guy who has more reserves wins. The guy who's willing to throw more men at the enemy wins, and that's it. You can see I'm trying in vain to save a couple of my troops, and then I remember I have these Jaegers back here that I really should have used earlier. People say that you should shield elites using conscripts, send in the conscripts first to sort of save the elites for the melee combat. Obviously that's a good idea, but I don't know how much of an improvement that actually makes, because conscripts take up a slot, and if you've been saving your supply enough, then you should probably have enough to just call in all elites instead of conscripts. Because let's be honest, as you've seen from the couple of waves here and here, you don't have the micro capability to, especially when it starts lagging, to preserve your troops' lives. So if you're going to have meat shields, they might as well be good meat shields, these elites. Unfortunately, that wave amounted to nothing. Almost nothing. Because unfortunately for him, they got a little too close, and the field of fire of these trenches meant that these two guys, once they got to this point, this far over, couldn't get shot at by those two elites in the trench, and then I suppressed them to make sure they couldn't. He realizes his mistake, or he realized the issue almost immediately, and moves them out of the trench. And then I hit him with the air burst, ka-thwam, and then there goes an elite company in the other one. I hit him with a precision barrage to finish him off. Next wave calling in, friggin', you're gonna wince when you see the casualty screen. Right there, another victim of my inability to micro. These infantry out in the open, just dying when I could have put them inside that readily available concrete bunker. But the reason for that is, if I micro in one area, then if I micro to save one unit in one corner of the battlefields, then another 5 units are going to die somewhere else in the battlefield. You really can't win with this constant time combat where you can't pause. And the other unfortunate thing is that as you can see, the tenuous hold I have here could be pushed off if he had any light artillery left, and I think I killed most of it with those two YOLO guys up there. They killed at least 1, maybe 2 batteries, and I'm going to keep focusing on that eventually, because the more I do that, the less he can do that with his gas attack. The more he can... You can see I'm capping A, which is the condition to win this battle. But I could still lose here. It's still a toss-up. It all depends on who can push more troops in, and he's pushing more troops in, but it's a little bit too late because, well, yeah, it's just too little, too late. My next wave is already arriving, and it's bigger than his, and he doesn't have the vision or the artillery. Oh, never mind. Spoke too soon. He does have the artillery, but notice there's only one suppression barrage, and it's not an air burst. So that means that this wave is going to be mostly fine, not suffer very many casualties. I think I can't see his supply at this moment, but I think he's running out of supply, which is why it's so hard, which is why he doesn't have air bursts. If I had to wager, I think his supply is around 400, whereas mine is 1,400. I splurge a little on a siege call-in because I'm sick of that frickin' artillery calling down gas attacks. And then I continue. You can see the real time really taking its toll. I have to prioritize the things that really matter, and even at the expense of my troops' lives, because I just don't have the micro potential to... Oh boy, that's a big wave. Do I have an air burst ready? Do I have an air burst ready? I'm frantically going through my call-ins, or my hotkeys, trying to find an artillery piece that isn't down or suppressed or whatever. Finally, number 6 comes off cooldown, and hit him with the air burst. Wait for it, wait for it. I pan off. This is the weakness of post-commentary. You're commenting on things that you can't see off the screen. Right here, I'm able to call them in from this side of the map because I captured this point. And yeah, there goes his artillery. This was the turning point. Now that he doesn't have artillery and I do, it's only a matter of time. Because if you don't have artillery, your infantry is toast. Absolutely toast. You're done for. So yeah, he's completely lost control of the east side of the map. I don't have control of it yet per se, because you'll notice, I mean, you can see he's still able to push things in. But at this point, you can see I can just barrage his guys, and they can't really do anything about it. Cuss the wham! Yeah, air burst is ruinous. Okay, next wave coming up. Unfortunately, through a gas cloud. That was the thing he really did well. It was just gas all my troops. I spoke too soon. He still has some artillery. But it's not as covered as the other ones where I can sneak up on him from the side. Here's the glitch that kind of frustrated us both. It looks like that's my trench, but it's firing on my own troops because there are actually 2 trenches there. And I think that's because of a glitch with the siege artillery, where it like doesn't quite destroy the trench and then it leaves him alive. Here you can see his machine guns are all pointing forwards because he didn't expect an attack from the side. I mean, it's kind of hard to prepare for, honestly. And now that I have this reinforcement point on the right side of the map edge, even though it's been contested now, it allows me to bring in troops much faster than I was before. Yeah, you can see up in the upper left, he's noticed the trench bug. It's still firing on my reinforcements off screen, which is really annoying considering it should already be, you know, taken. There it is, mowing down my reinforcement waves. So I just say screw it and call in a bunch of, you know, big barrages. What else? Oh yeah, right. The thing that allowed me to do any of this was calling in siege artillery on the trench to the left of the problem trench there. Because when I was... oh jeez, I forgot about the machine gun there. Yeah, best I can do there is just, you know, save the supply. The thing I did earlier was cut off the trenches that he had in the front line from the ones further to the left, which allowed me to isolate these ones on the right and then use them as like staging points for my own troops. You can see, I don't know if you noticed in the chat earlier, but he has decided to valiantly give it a try, because if he manages to take back A in the time we have left, then the match will be a tie, at least not a loss. So yeah. what no observation balloons does to a man. So true. Look at how I'm able to just mass troops in the back line in the vulnerable column formation, and well, if he had any artillery, he would be able to blast them, but he not only can't see them, he also doesn't have the artillery to do anything about it, even if he could. My next objective is basically to push him out of these trenches and further away from A to make a counterattack almost impossible. That's what these Jaegers are getting in there for. That concrete bunker there is key, because it can hide a bunch of troops on that important place and hide. Oh dear, he's moving through the open. Or, well, he sort of was, but not really. he managed to time it so that he came out after the airburst, which was very well timed. So I just decided to gas him. And these flamers are going to prove very useful because they can sit at the right there where I just clicked and flame the heck out of these guys without being shot in return. Now, I was a little unsure what to do at this point because I didn't know how far I should push, but I mean, you gotta just keep pushing. Eventually, I decided to just form a big line of troops. And, that should stop him, because you'll notice most of these trenches are completely busted, either from the pre-battle siege bombardment or from the ones that I called in. So I just have to stand in open ground, but it's fine, because he has no artillery, and he wasn't using the harassment plane that could have killed my troops in the open. Here I actually become a little worried about a counterattack and move some of my troops back, because I haven't been paying attention back there. He could have just a bunch of troops waiting to rush onto my point, but he was focused on counterattacking, like so. And that meant that, I mean, I can't really blame him. He can't see my own base, so he doesn't know that it's Ooh, yeah, they almost dodged it, but not quite. Then he can't know. It's only in hindsight that we see. Or he could have overwhelmed my trenches. Yeah, but he didn't know that at the time. So yeah, I almost moved those flamers into that trench, but then I realized they're much more useful sitting there at the junction where they can flame whoever's in that trench. I think he's trying to go into the concrete trench, so that was that was a wasted barrage. But, you know, always a learning experience, right? For some reason his strength bar is still, I think it's glitched in the replay, because it's, now that I've destroyed all of his artillery, it should be a lot less. Cycling out the exhausted companies in the rear there, because there's no point in leaving 10th strength, you know, 1/10 strength companies in the line. And now I just decide to get in the conga line into his trenches to kick him out once and for all. But little did I know he was planning something that could have maybe turned the tide. And it rumbled the ground like thunder as it came over the horizon. The biggest British counterattack to yet seen. Unfortunately for the British, the German artillery was waiting. And the air bursts came in one after another, or they would have if the artillery hadn't been on cooldown, but not for long. The British infantry, if they had stopped to shoot, maybe could have done something, but in this current situation, they're done for. I have too many guys shooting at them in the open, and it's just impossible. Here you can see he almost, that in the bottom left, he almost gets to those trenches, which would have been a big pain in the rear. But it was not to be. There goes his strength bar. You can see on the top. That's his remaining strength, that tiny blue sliver, and it's going to go down even a little bit more from those airburst shells. The German impetus simply became too much. The destruction of his artillery meant that he couldn't contest my possession of a trench anymore. I could just sit in the open and wait, which meant this match was over. That was it. I had won the match and the tournament, with one last garrison of the 2 trench bug. The match ends with an honorable surrender, because he fought hard. As you can see from my spasmodic cursor, I was very happy, because when those initial assaults were going in, my pulse was pounding. I didn't know if I could win, but I was willing to take enough casualties. I mean, the casualties ended up about equal, but you saw how many companies were just getting obliterated. Yeah, that... It leaves me speechless. How many men die for a completely pointless position, just so I can get a Discord title that says Champion of the Somme.